Early birds catching the worms. I gotta wait for Subscribe Cat to catch up. Where's Subscribe Cat? Where's our cat? What's up, guys? Hope you're having a great night so far. Oh, just for extra salt, they brought back Bub Boy. This is my first time tonight seeing these things. They brought Energy Pack too, huh? We've got everything here, guys. We've got everything here. Except average speed kicks. We definitely need some of those. We got everything else in volume, though. Wrath is back. And it's in with Melvin Stew. I think I would take Deflect and Absorb over just straight Absorb, personally. I don't think you're going to beat Wrath anytime soon. It's a beastly accessory.
Bueller.
Is our cat back yet? It's time for the early bird reward. Time for that early bird reward.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Dollar, 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 dollar.
We need to do some world boss tonight, guys. What's going on? We need to do some world boss. I need to click around on 0 before I get disconnected. Hobbit foot farming. I'm hitting up my guild. I don't know if you guys seen, but there's a new world boss level 250 up.
It's a trap.
Ma, the meatloaf! Fuck!
I have had way too much to drink tonight, guys. I don't even know. Let's do some raids. Let's do some raids while we wait. Let's get that XP. And let's drunk stream. Drunk streams are the best streams. Let's see what we got. Let's check this raffle queue. We have a bunch of lovely people giving away their slots. What have we got in the raffle queue? What have we got?
Do it!
For those of you that don't know what raffle queue is, it's incredible.
Don't let your dreams be
Oh my
dreams.
god.
Yesterday,
We have some Stetson 1 slots.
do it! Make your dreams
Let's do it.
come true! Just do it!
How many Stetson 1 slots do we have? I can't tell. And I don't think Stetson is here to tell us. Stetson 1. The last time we raffled Stetson, he was only level 289. Let's see. What has he done? Stetson 1. 312! Those gains.
This is Sparta!
289 to 312. Those are some gains, Stetson. Those are some gains. Let's see what we got. 1132 plus 453 plus 604. 2189 TS. That's some gains, bro. At that time he was a tank. Now he's a DPS. We're gonna do a couple Stetson 1 raffles. Ma, the meatloaf! F!
Ma, the meatloaf! Fuck!
So we got a Stetson 1 raffle live right now, guys. Level 312, 2189 TS. Nope. No, Golden. Just upgrade the best legs you can get. I got some I got some Kiraz sounds tonight. I cut up some stuff. I cut up some Kira, some OG Kira sounds for you guys.
Make it rain. Make it rain. Make rain. Kira. Hi, bad guy kitten. Who won? Kira OP.
Kira OP. That one's too quiet. We need a much louder Kira OP.
Kira OP. Kira OP.
Val, I sent you that Kira OP sound. I don't know if we can get it louder, but it's friggin' adorable. Carol Smith got sniped. Kira OP. So entertaining. I'm looking to do some world boss. If any of our crazy players...
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,721.
Never tell me the odds.
Make it rain.
Let's get some Orlag going.
Make rain.
Oh, yeah. I should do the live announcement, huh? Thank you, OpTech.
Mana, the meatloaf! Fuck!
Yeah, the meaty farm is real. The new Mythic Fam is awesome. He just takes way too much demon blood to make heads or tails of him, though.
Mana, the meatloaf! Fuck!
What's up, Selby? Good to see you, buddy. Wow, you know shit's getting real when you gotta like snipe the chat in your stream. We got so many rips, it's crazy. You do. You get coins for these bots. When we rip people, you guys get rewarded. It's amazing. Val, I think the #1 sound we gotta do is the Kira OP. Nice, Val. Congrats on the move. I know moving is super rough. Congrats on the move. Oh, nice. We'll do a Selby raffle next. How about that? We have 1 minute and 30 seconds before Stessen 1 goes home with somebody. We got a leg drop too.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar.
I think we might need to reboot Subscribe Cat here, huh? Yeah, seems like mad coins from bots.
You know what? I will have some meatloaf. Let's have some meatloaf. You want some? I need some.
Not one. Stessen 1.
The meatloaf!
Not. We do not need to know your IGN. Alright, let's draw a new winner. Not with messing around. Let's draw a new winner.
Bueller.
Valrin!
Bueller.
Yeah, something's going on with Subscribe Cat, guys. I'm gonna, let's restart this raffle. Let me restart Subscribe Cat real quick. Yeah, it looks like sponsors only could enter the last raffle. So, on the bright side, all the sponsors lost 1,000 coins who entered. So, there you go. Okay. Subscribe cat is up. Let's do a test raffle really quick before we move on with the evening. This is going to be a test LOL cat raffle. It's going to cost you a whole coin to enter. It'll be 5 minutes long. Let's test it. These bots are getting real. Did you guys miss the 7,777 coins we gave out? Start of the raffle. You got to be the early bird. The minute the notification goes off, you got to join. Because there's an early bird reward. Usually of 7,000 coins or more. And those 7,000 coins will usually carry you through the night. So the loyals that have their notifications set are going to get that early bird reward. Looks like I may need to restart the stream. I've got the countdown overlay to kick off, but I don't have the raffle overlay. There we go. Hello, raffle overlay. Please tell the people about the LOL cats. Okay. Let's kick off a fresh raffle. It's gonna be 5 minutes. There we go. We got a test raffle going, guys. It's entry cost of 1 coin, duration of 5 minutes. Test your entries. Please. Fucking Selby. I get a direct message from Selby Goatwalker saying, "Okay, I'm going to go for a drive and get a pool because it's fucking hot here. I'll be on my phone." A pool, one word. We have mad LOL cats getting raffled right now, guys. If you want the best of the best LOL cats, that's what you're gonna win. Yeah, pretty much. No, I see a bunch of lag going on. What is going on? Let's try to sort this out. Kitten videos, you know. Yeah, there's definitely some buffering going on. Let me flip to my other... I'll be right back. You may lose audio here. Alright. See if that doesn't help. Do we confirm a few people can enter for our LOL cats? Make sure you can win an LOL cat for 1 coin.
Bueller.
Oh my god.
Bueller.
Stesson won. Stesson won an LOL cat. Alright, let's really kick this off.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Fuck your house, nigga. Buy another one, you rich motherfucker. Fuck your house, nigga. Fuck your house.
Stesson's winning all the LOL cats. What are we gonna do? Oh my god. We found Novanthus. Good thing I typed no space. That's supposed to be 100. Let's go, Novanthus. Can you defeat Zero Crash? It is the dual Korgs versus the dual Korgs. Versus the Zero Crash. Rip Novanthus. Is it still bugged? Really? Alright. Let's try this. Please try to enter that raffle. Non-sponsors. Yes, tons of non-sponsors are getting in. This is your second chance to win an LOL cat. The finest LOL cats you'll ever find.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money,
Dollar, dollar.
Did you DM me that Kira OP? Or at me? Let's hear this. I cannot find your Kira OP edit, Val. Please click prawn best. There we go. There's the Cure OP. Let's try it out. We gotta download. You guys ready? See if it comes through.
Kira OP. Kira OP.
Oh man. That is legit. Oh. I hope she appreciates this when she's older.
Kira OP. Kira OP. Kira OP. Kira OP. Kira OP. Kira OP.
Would you ever do a drinking game on stream?
Drinking game on stream? Oh my god. Yes, yes. Wow.
Here we go. Money
Oh. All right. Oh, drinking games. Freaking with 9 AM meetings. Did you guys kill Subscribe Cat? Poor Subscribe Cat. You okay, buddy?
Kira OP. Kira OP. Kira OP. Make it rain. Make it rain. Make rain. Kira OP. Kira OP.
The mods run away while he can. Oh, so entertaining.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is that why you are here?
Oh.
Karaoke. 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 Karaoke.
Alright, I brought my wife to listen to how we're exploiting Kira.
Ever legendary or better drop equals a shot?
I think you guys killed Subscribe Cat. What? It's okay, Subscribe Cat. Are you okay, buddy? David Yee, raffle winner.
I will second a drinking game.
Do you like broccoli?
Yes, I do.
Do you like ice cream?
Yes, I do.
Do you like broccoli ice cream?
I do. Yucky. I like milkshakes. Yes, I do. I like milkshakes. I like milkshakes.
Do you like milkshakes?
Yes, I do.
Do you like pizza?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Do you like milkshake pizza?
No, I don't. Yucky.
like broccoli?
Yes, I do.
Do you like ice cream?
Yes, I do.
Do you like broccoli ice cream?
I do. Yucky. Karaoke. 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 Chicken. Chicken. Karaoke. Karaoke. Karaoke.
Maybe get her to say lolcat next.
Karaoke. 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 Karaoke.
Wow.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Am I like missing raffle winners and stuff? What's going on? Hey, David Yee. Oh, banned, unbanned. What's the difference? You know.
You're OP.
Banned, not banned. What's the difference?
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar.
Hadouken!
Make it rain. Make it rain. Make it rain. Make rain. You're OP.
Sniped!
You're OP.
Good night, Not.
Zero OP. Zero OP. Zero OP.
Do you guys want some Sasquatch Chronicles? Alright.
Some guy's a trainer and
Do it! Just do it!
No, don't do it. Yesterday, you said tomorrow.
Just do it! Make your dreams come true! Just do it! No!
Zero OP. Zero OP. Zero OP.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for clicking into another edition of
Zero OP.
Wes and Woody.
You know, this pains me to have to say
Zero
this.
OP.
Right.
Due to Wes got me, and I lost. So I was for by calling this sit down with Wes.
You're right. He came through and he changed the name of his show, and I got to give it to Ed. I actually really like Ed. Ed's a nice guy. As much as we were laughing through his intro, I actually really do like Ed.
Yeah, we kind of gave him a little bit of a hard time there, through his intro. But I will say one thing: Ed is a really, really good card player. And, you know, it all kind of started with where this all originated, and for people that don't know, but it originated at Beachfoot, and we had a little poker game. And the last three people on the table were Wes and Woody and Ed.
And Ed, yeah.
And so I kind of turned into this funny little bet thing. And he, you know, he stood behind his bet, and yeah, he got spanked by me. So what can I say?
Yeah, and to my credit, let me back up real quick. You know, you and I went out to dinner.
Yeah.
We went out and had drinks, and then, several drinks, and then I was ready to come home and go to bed, or come back to the hotel and go to bed. I was tired. I didn't want to. It was like 10 o'clock. I'm an old man. I was ready for bed. And then Ed kept texting me, and I forgot we ran our mouths about the poker. And so I was like, oh, man, it's 10 o'clock. I don't really feel like going down there. Really don't feel like playing poker. I really wanted to go to bed. We had spent like 8 hours of videotaping the International Bigfoot Conference, and I really wasn't in the mood to play poker. But we ended up going down there, and then the drinks start flowing, you know, like a fountain. And we're playing poker, and I barely remember half the night, but I remember Ed losing, and you just spanking him. And it really wasn't 2 against 1. I would have loved to seen Ed lose as much as I would have loved to seen you lose. Ed doesn't understand that. I was gunning for you just as much as I was gunning for Ed.
I know you were.
But it was good times, and you know, it's all in good fun. You know, you can't beat Ed up too much on it. It's all good fun.
No, I definitely want to give it up to Ed. He's a really good guy. I appreciate him. He's fun to be around, and I think the most thing that I probably like about this whole thing is I think we get to beat up on him for 3 more shows or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is great. I love to hear this Wes and Woody thing. So thank you, Ed. And
yeah, thanks, Ed.
We'll be tuning into your shows from this point on for sure.
Yeah, now I've been posting it to the blog, and I talked to Ed today. He's going to come on the show Sunday and address these charges of 2 against 1.
These charges. Give me a break. Ed, I love you, brother. You're a good guy, and I'd do it all over again, and you probably wouldn't, but it was fun.
Yeah, no, I had a good time. If most of you haven't noticed, Woody's here in studio with me for the show tonight. A lot of you remember Woody. He's my brother. We had the encounter together, and he decided to step in studio. What do you think of the studio, Wood?
Let's do some betting.
I definitely think it's amazing. It's a huge upgrade, and honestly, I think a lot of people would be jealous. It's pretty amazing. For the people that are listening, the people that are on the website and whatnot, it's only going to get better from here. So, thanks for your support, and God, you've got a good thing going here, man. Sounds really good.
Yeah, no, and if people saw how I used to do the studio, it's like I was telling you earlier, and this is probably not interesting to the audience, but I could never hear myself talk when I was interviewing people. I mean, I could hear myself talk. I would just talk.
Nobody cares, Wes. What is this shit?
Where I can hear myself now. And there's so many shows where I go back and listen. I'm like, through a studio.
It's a cool feature.
Coming up with that
to be beat, to be honest with you, because I'm a Bigfoot, some happen to be part of it, and thank you.
But Jason to the show. Jason, thanks for coming on tonight, man. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me, Wes.
And if you would, you had a very interesting encounter with your son. For the audience, will you kind of start
Sasquatch Chronicles?
Tell us what you were out doing, and then walk us into what happened.
Sure. This took place in April of 2005. My son was not quite 6 years old yet. He was in first grade, and he was on his April vacation or break or whatever they call it. And I hike a lot in the woods. I love the woods. I'm out there almost every day. And it was a nice spring day. It was like probably one of the first warm days of the spring, and so I decided to take him on this trail. It's not a difficult trail. It's not deep in the woods by any means. You know, we had a nice hike, and we were headed back up the trail. It runs adjacent to this cemetery, and all of a sudden, as we were headed back to the car, a fairly big pine tree we heard get pushed over. It fell literally maybe 10 yards behind us, and it scared the crap out of us. And my son started crying. I looked over to see. I had never heard just a tree in the wild fall over like that, roots and all, right from the ground. And I saw a large black figure on 2 legs I want to say running away, but it didn't even really look like it was running. It almost looked like it was cross-country skiing, if that makes sense, like a glide almost. Yeah. And I knew it wasn't a bear because one of its arms was bent, and I clearly saw the elbow. It lasted maybe 15 seconds before it literally just disappeared into the forest. I don't mean like, vanished or teleported or whatever. It just, I don't know how to describe it other than say it was there and then it was not.
What was going through your mind at the time when you saw this thing?
Complete crazy fear. But it was weird. It was fear, but it was a fear that was absence of any feeling of threat. And like I said, I'm in the woods all the time here. I run across bear a lot. I've had 2 encounters with mountain lions, even though technically they're not supposed to be here.
Sniped.
They say. But they show up on game cams all the time. It was just this overwhelming feeling of dread, and I'm sure part of it had to do with the fact that my son was with me and he was only 5. And, he immediately... he almost burst out into tears almost before the tree fell over for some reason. So after seeing this thing, I just literally scooped him up and ran about a half mile down the rest of the trail to my car. But before I did, it felt like time kind of stopped for a minute, and I didn't really see the face. I just saw the body, and its elbow is what stood out to me the most because it looked almost like a baseball, and it was the only part of its body that appeared to have no hair on it.
Yeah, that's interesting. When you saw it, were you thinking, wow, a gorilla, or were you thinking, was it just...
My very first thought was, okay, it's a bear. But I've run into bear before, and then the way it was running, it made no sense. And then I saw it bend its elbow, and I was like, just not a bear, and it was big. We have a lot of black bear here, but I wouldn't say they're the, ginormous type at all. And it didn't really have the girth of a bear that you would expect. it was big, but it wasn't so outrageously big that you would look at it and say, there's no way a human can be that big. It would have been a very big person.
Yeah, compared to you, how big do you think this thing was?
I'm 5'10", and this thing was about 50 yards away, and if I had to guess, I would say it was maybe 6'5" or 6'6".
Have you been back to that area since this encounter?
Oh, yeah, many times. I hike in there all the time now. It took me, after that happened, I didn't go to that exact spot again for a few months. But sort of adjacent to this, there's a little wildlife management area. It's sort of a gravel path with it's about maybe 2 3/4 miles long, and I would take my son there. And it was, it was the woods, so it satisfied my need to be in the woods, and it was also enough to make him, feel relatively safe until a couple of incidents happened in there a couple of months after that.
Well, tell us about that. What happened in there?
The first incident after that, there's this gazebo at the very end of the trail or the beginning, depending on which entry point you go in. And we were just sitting in the gazebo. It was later that year, maybe July or August, and we were just talking. I was asking him general father-son stuff, and he had a bottle of Poland spring water.
What's up, Radcon? Welcome, brother.
So, like a lot of kids, he kind of slipped it on his finger, and he was just banging it against the gazebo while I was talking. And all of a sudden, the gazebo sits atop this hill, and below the hill, after he was banging it for a little bit, we heard a loud bang back, and he kept doing it, and all of a sudden we heard this loud rustle, and we could see the brush moving as if something was rushing up the hill. And I had that same feeling of fear that I had a few months earlier when we had it on the path near the cemetery when the tree was pushed over. And I did the very same thing. I just picked him up and hauled ass down the trail back to the car.
Were you going back into this area? I think I would be a little concerned going back into this area. especially seeing something that supposedly doesn't exist.
Absolutely, but I grew up around here. I'm 46 now. I've been hiking in there. I mean, my dad probably took me in there before I was 5 years old for the first time, and nothing had ever really happened before. And the only thing that really changed was, like I said, I didn't really go off trail into the thicker part of the woods anymore. I kind of just stuck around this wildlife management area with the gravel path. And all I really did is I started carrying a very large knife with me when I would go out, just for a feeling of security. But I had been out. I didn't go back out into the woods
What's up,
at all
Gag?
for a couple months after this. And then when I just started bringing them into this wildlife management area. There was one other incident after this, and every single time it only involved having.
Good night, Wix.
That's interesting. That's a really interesting note. The other thing too about your son hitting the gazebo. I talked to a guy, probably 2 weeks ago. I couldn't get him to come on the show, but he had a very, very interesting encounter. He's pounding a stake in the ground on his property, and he lives way out in the middle of nowhere. And he was just pounding this stake into the ground. He didn't believe in Bigfoot. He said all of a sudden this ape showed up, came just barreling down the hill, and he thought it was an escaped gorilla or something. And it just made me think of your son pounding on the side of that gazebo. I don't know if that's some sort of warning or if it's something maybe younger ones do. I mean, I don't know. But I have heard of people who constantly hit trees or whatever, and these things show up over and over. When you're out there banging on something over and over and over again. If they're in the area, they seem to respond to that. And I don't really understand why. But tell us about the last encounter.
The final encounter was maybe 2 months after that. It was in the fall. I took him down into that same in the same area, the same wildlife management area, but a different part. There's a little waterfall there, and I just brought him down there to catch crayfish. And we were down in this little, it's like a little, I don't even want to call it a gorge, a gully, whatever.
Unknown winner.
Hanging out near the waterfall catching crayfish. We started hearing, I don't even know how to describe it. It was a grunt, a snort. I don't know what it was. It happened a couple times, enough to make us stop what we were doing and look around and we didn't see anything. And my son made a joke about it, actually. We started laughing, and a few minutes later, we heard a loud crash. But before that, a shadow sort of passed over us, and we saw a whole entire, pretty big tree branch sort of not fall from a tree, but fly over us and land on the other side of the bank of the waterfall. Like I said, for the third time, I had that feeling, and I have not had it since. That same feeling I had when the tree was pushed over months earlier, and we got out of there.
The feeling you're talking about, is that the dread?
Yeah, it was just this overwhelming. I can't even. The closest I can begin to describe it is I was in a car accident once, and I slid on some ice, and I hit a tree. It was, you get that adrenaline rush when your car is out of control, but I didn't really feel fear until you're absolutely going to hit the tree, and then it just sort of hits you in a wave. That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah, and I can understand that. Do you guys still go back to that same area down there?
Yeah, we do now. Actually, I could not get my son to go into the woods again after that for, oh my God, I say almost 10 years. That was it for him. He would not go back in. And I would only go in sparingly, and I would not go in that location for a very long time, maybe a couple years. And finally, they had a free hunting and fishing exhibition day thing there, and I decided to go back, and I just started slowly revisiting it. I would go in the woods, but in other places, I don't know why, in my head I figured, the woods are the woods, but there was just something about that location I wanted to avoid, and I figured, you're in Connecticut, so, remote here is probably a lot different from where you are. There's remote just means places where people don't go. So if you kind of stick to where everybody goes, you think you're pretty safe,
For some people, it's nice not to have an encounter or run in with these things. take away your love of wanting to go out in the woods. It's really nice to be in that position. You know, some people, they run into these things. I've talked to many hunters and many hikers and many campers, and when I talk to them and they've run into these things, that's it. They're done. They don't go out ever again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can totally understand that. The only thing with me was, like I said, it was fear, and I don't know if it was more of, I'm sure having, you know, a little 5-year-old with you greatly contributes to that with the parental instinct. But it was a fear that was very overwhelming, and it was like nothing I've ever felt before. But there was not this palpable sense of threat to it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get what you mean. And, you know, the encounter really wasn't an aggressive encounter. I mean, the first one knocked over a tree, and I've had many people on the show that have had encounters like that, but it got up and it left. And so, you know, I can understand having a different perspective of these things when you have an encounter like that and they don't come after you. There's really no aggression. I mean, I kind of get where you're coming from. I get it completely, actually. I can understand wanting to go back out because it really didn't come after you guys.
The thing that creeped me out the most about it was just, like I said, it was big, but it wasn't, you know, it was not bigger than your average wrestler or NBA player. You know, it wasn't like overwhelmingly huge, and it had very broad. It looked like it had very broad shoulders and a very, very long stride, but it wasn't something that I would say weighed 500 pounds but it glided. It looked almost like, you know, you see somebody on an elliptical trainer almost the exact same motion, except for that 1 minute when it bent its elbow, almost like the elliptical trainer, you know, with the arms going back and forth and these long strides that seem to almost have no effort to it whatsoever.
Yeah, and as you and I talked earlier, generally speaking,
yeah, if you say add me,
Coast,
you get auto banned for 10 minutes.
Especially the Northeast area. Not to say that you can't come across one that's a lot bigger and 500 pounds plus, but generally speaking, the witnesses I talked to, they describe it 6.5, maybe 7 feet tall, and a couple 100 pounds, and you know, built more like a football player or an NBA player. And so it's interesting because out here out west, most of the encounters I get out here, people describe King Kong. Running into King Kong is what they, you know, describe, and you get a whole different story on the East Coast.
You know, when it first happened, my first thought wasn't Bigfoot or anything like that, because in my mind, Bigfoot I've always associated with, when I was a kid, the episodes of the $6 Million Man. And he sort of entangles a Bigfoot. I think it was played by Andre the Giant, actually.
Yeah, Andre the Giant. Yeah.
Of this huge, you know, Andre-like 7 foot tall, 500 pound creature, and it was brown, and this one was, it looked almost completely black to me. But what it did remind me of is when I was a little boy, my cousins lived in a town called Terryville, and back then it was not quite as developed as it was now. And they told me a story of they were fishing once by a creek, and they ran into a monkey that they called the berry monster because it was picking berries. And even before Bigfoot, the first thing I thought, I was just saying, oh my God, I saw the berry monster, which is something that terrified me as a kid because of their story.
I always love hearing stuff like that because, you know, people in different areas, if you know what the locals call the creature, you'll find lots of reports. But if you go and look at Bigfoot or Sasquatch, you really don't find that much. It's kind of like down south, or your berry monster story. Down south, the corn man or the chicken man. They have all sorts of different booger. They have all sorts of different names for them. And if you know what the locals call them, and what's interesting is a lot of times we do the same thing as the Native Americans do. We'll give it a name based on what we see their behavior, like the berry man picking berries. Sure. It's last week I had a gentleman on, and he was talking about how the local Indians are called the one who runs and hides. And he sent me the name, and it's this long name. But they would see it all the time, and that's what it would do. It would run and hide, and that's what the name meant, the one who runs and hides. And so it's interesting to talk to locals to get their perspective on the behaviors that they see, and a lot of times they'll associate the name with that behavior.
You know, it's funny. My whole life growing up, I was always afraid to go berry picking because of that silly, you know, what I thought was a silly story. And what they told me is they were just out down by the creek picking berries, and this monkey showed up and started throwing acorns at them to get them away from the berries. And they ran home, and they were a mess.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too. I've been out to a property in Washington State, and they talk about it coming and picking the berries. And I remember I showed up there one week, and, I mean, I'm talking acres and acres and acres of berries. And you would, literally, all the berries would disappear within a matter of days. Now, there's no way all the birds are eating those berries. And so it's just interesting, because they would say, they said they saw Sasquatch pick the berries and eat them. And I remember I went out there one day and went back just a couple days later, and the berries were all picked. I couldn't believe it. I mean, you'd have to bring in 25 people to pick all these berries. And this thing must have gone through and picked it all through the night, or I don't know what they did. But I saw all the berries disappear, and it's interesting that, was it your cousin, did you say?
Yeah, my two cousins, yes. Brother, they were both brothers. And they were down by the creek just picking berries and fishing, and this thing just showed up. They said it was a monkey, and it yelled at them and started throwing acorns and rocks at them.
Did you ever talk to him about your encounter, what you saw with your son?
Yeah, no, absolutely, I haven't. I haven't spoken to them in decades. And I would like to, because actually one of them, they both live in Maine now, and one of the cousins is a forest ranger up there. So I've always been curious to try and get in touch with him and just kind of pick his brain about it. And the only reason why, I even contacted you, I think I sent you a picture of it a few weeks ago. I was hiking out in the woods. I saw a bear carcass, and literally, I mean, it was fully intact, except something had completely, at the bone, ripped off. I sent you a picture of it, I think. It had ripped the leg off at the bone, its left hind leg. And it's very rare. I mean, I can't ever recall ever finding a bear in the woods anyway. It was freshly killed, and it had a leg just ripped off. And I remember hearing one of your shows. I had just started listening to your show a few months ago, and I recall hearing a story about a creature breaking the back leg off of a deer or something, I think. And that's what it reminded me of. I had never seen, like I said, it's so rare to see anything dead, even a deer, really.
Yeah, it is rare.
I found 2 whole dead bear carcasses, no bullet wounds. You're not even allowed to hunt them here in Connecticut.
How were the bears killed that you found?
The first bear, like I said, it was just fully...
Bueller?
It wasn't a large bear.
Bueller?
I would say a little bit bigger than a cub. Maybe
Bueller?
This was its first full year out on its own. And it looked fully intact, except its back leg was completely torn off. And the other bear I found a couple weeks ago, it just looked like something had... I'll send you pictures of this, too. I took pictures of it. It was also fully intact, except its rib cage was, and the side of its hip was totally caved in. And I mean, I suppose it could have got hit by a car, but I don't know how it would have wandered in the woods that far after getting hit by a car. And you usually around here, if a car hits a bear that big, it's pretty much going to be on the news. Every time a bear shows up in somebody's backyard, they put it on the news here. So it looked like something literally just caved in its rib cage and its hip, but everything else was fully intact.
That's interesting. Yeah, you hear a lot of these bear kills and deer kills where something grabbed, like a deer, for instance, around the head and twists its head around and around and around and around, and almost to the point where it's popping the head off. And I can't think of anything out there that would kill a deer that way. I mean, I just can't. A cougar is not going to do that. And that's about the only other predator we have out here that would.
Yeah, here in New England, that's it. Bears, that's the top of the chain. You know, there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing else that's going to top that here. Maybe, like I said, I've seen a mountain lion twice, and my boss had one run out in front of her while she was jogging on a local trail, and they show up on game cams all the time. But both times I saw it, they ran away. So I can't imagine. And they were big, but I don't think they could take out a bear.
Well, be safe while you're out there, will you? And keep an eye on that kid. I know you will, but just be safe while you're out there. And you never know how these things are going to react. Sometimes they run, sometimes they don't. I just got done talking to a witness, actually, about an hour ago. he didn't really have a violent encounter. And so he was unsure if he wanted to come on the show or not. And I told him, I said, not every encounter is a bloodbath. Most encounters aren't. You do get the ones that are from time to time. But
yes, we do have that already,
generally
Mr.
will
Patty.
get up and leave the area. It's when they don't is when you have to worry. And, even something like you saw, it was built like a basketball player, 6'5", not much bigger than you. You have to keep in mind these things can still rip you apart.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing that creeped me out, like in hindsight now, is, like I said, remembering my cousin's story and the 3 encounters that I had, it all involved kids. It involved my son and my 2 cousins when they were little. I've been out on my own, and I haven't had an issue in years. It was just always with my son.
Yeah, well, be safe, and I appreciate you coming on, Jason, and telling the encounter, and I really enjoyed hearing it.
Oh, thanks. I know it wasn't probably the most spectacular encounter, but I really appreciate you hearing me out.
No, I think all encounters are very interesting, and thank you again.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Big fan of your show.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, and thanks for hanging out tonight, Wood. I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely, man. Thanks again for having me, and I'm always happy to show up, and I always have a good time here, hanging out with you and your audience. So, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I was talking to a guy earlier, actually 2 days ago. I was talking to him. I posted it to the blog, the whole story, but he was driving, and this guy has a very, very, how do I say this, important job on a military base. I had to cut out the job that this guy has, but he has a very, very important job on the military base, and he was heading home. This is probably 20 years ago. I'm trying to get him on the show, but it's hit and miss. He claims he's a very private person, and I respect that. But the guy was driving home one night. He was doing about 80 miles an hour, I guess coming back from Lancaster, California, heading to a military base. Or he was heading to work. And as he's coming around the corner, he's doing about 80 miles an hour. Comes around the corner, and he said what he hit was an upright standing wolf. And I asked him, I said, well, can you describe what you saw? And he said, what I saw was it had the body of a primate, head of a wolf, had ears on its head. And he goes, I hit it probably doing maybe 50 miles an hour. He goes, I hit the brakes to try and swerve out of its way. And when it hit the car, it actually hit the front driver's side of the car. And so he said he got a concussion. The airbag goes off. He kind of goes off into the ditch and comes back onto the road. Airbag goes off. And you've been in car accidents. You know what I'm talking about. You hit with those airbags, man, and you're in trouble. But he gets hit with this airbag, and he ends up driving home. And he said he doesn't remember driving home, which I completely get because I've been in that type of car accident before. But he ends up driving home. Turn this down a little bit. My new studio.
A kid with his new toys.
Yeah.
What do you do?
There's too many buttons.
Let him play. Let him play, folks.
But he ends up driving home, and he tells his girlfriend about it. And she says, what did you hit? And he goes, I'm not sure what I hit. I think it was a wolf standing upright. And so his girlfriend's like, must have a major concussion. So she takes him to the ER. And again, this is like 20 years ago when there really wasn't great cell phone cameras out there. There was some, but I think at that time people still had flip phones for the most part. And so he goes to the ER, and he had a major concussion, and he had bruised ribs. And he said he went home, laid down, and he kept telling his girlfriend about the thing he hit in the road. So they drive out there, because she thinks he's full of crap. So they drive out there, and it was still on the side of the road. And he said it was about 300, 400, 500 pounds, something like that. Had the head of a wolf, had ears, and the body of a primate. And what's interesting about he called into work and told work, hey, I hit something. I was in a major car accident. Some of his coworkers at the military base said to him, did you hit that wolf-like thing, that werewolf on the side of the road? And what's interesting is when he went back, he said he was still scared of the thing. He didn't know what to think of it because it was laying kind of curled up. He said it had hands, The head was like a wolf, and his girlfriend said, well, what if we touch this thing? Is it going to come back to life or what? And which is kind of silly to say, but I guess I can understand when he sees something strange. But it was a very interesting encounter to listen to. And I don't think he's going to come on the show because of his position at that military base. He retired from it. And again, he told me, hey, Wes, I'm a very private person. I'm really not interested in coming on the show. But yes, I did hit the Sang. Yes, it was up on two legs. Yes, it was wolf-like, and I killed it. And the other weird part is when he went back, there was no bugs. There was no insects. You know when you hit like a deer on the side of the road, it's full of bugs, maggots, everything after like a day or two. He said nothing had touched this thing. And it was just an interesting encounter. I really wish I could get him on the show.
It's a shame that he won't come on the show, but I understand his outtake on it and not wanting to divulge his personal information. But when you told me, so originally you told me this story a couple days ago. When you originally told me, I thought the first thing I thought of was the bugs. Okay, well within 24 hours you're going to have some sort of bugs, some sort of deterioration. Some sort of there's going to be bloating. There's going to be usually after 24 hours. What's that show? 48 hours. There's bloating.
Right.
You can't even tell what the individual is, what the thing is, until you do an autopsy. But what was fascinating is the people that he worked with have already seen it. They've all seen it. It's too bad it was 20 years ago, man, because we would have had pictures of that, and we'd be able to see it now. And really, 20 years ago, all we had was analog cell phones. There was actually 20 years ago, no, unless you had a whole ton of money, you didn't have the ability to take pictures on cell phones 20 years ago. It's an amazing story, and I thought it was really cool. It's too bad too bad we didn't get any more information on that. So,
yeah, I think he said he went back 2 days later and it was gone. The whole body was gone.
Oh, that's right. You told me it was gone after a few days.
Yeah, and I asked him too.
And who took it?
Yeah, who took it? I asked him, I said, did you hit it and it kind of flew into the ditch? He goes, no, it wasn't in the spot where it should have been. And it cracked this guy's engine block.
So it moved after it was hit?
Yeah, he thinks it got up and walked over to the ditch and collapsed. But it had cracked his engine, actually totaled the whole Saturn he was driving in. And he said, I don't even know how he got the car home because there was so much damage to this car after it hit this thing. And it was just interesting to talk with them. And he said, I went back a couple days later and it was gone. I mean, just like something picked it up and walked off with it.
That's completely amazing. I mean, you're talking he was describing it as an individual that was somewhere around height. Did he give you height on it? 5-6 feet tall, something like that? Or
yeah, he said it was bigger than him. I think he's 6 foot. It was a little bit taller than him. Not by much, but what was interesting, it didn't weigh that much. That's the part that really fascinated me. Is it didn't weigh that much. I think he said something like 300-400 pounds. Not King Kong. He said it wasn't King Kong, but it was much bigger than he was.
So somebody probably equivalent to probably about what my size is. Pretty much.
Yeah, you wish.
Yeah, I know. No, but cool story and pretty amazing. It's too bad that we don't have further evidence on pictures or anything like that. That's a darn shame.
I got an email about the Sasquatch Summit. I guess it's coming up November 18th and 19th in Ocean Shores, Washington. Here's the ad for it.
Join us November 18th and 19th for the Sasquatch Summit at the Quinaul Beach Resort and Casino in Ocean Shores. Come see some of the world's renowned Sasquatch researchers present the most compelling evidence. David Pilates of Missing 411, Cliff Barackman of Finding Bigfoot, Christopher Noel, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Bob Gimlin, Derek Randalls, and the Olympic Project, Guy Edwards, and many more. Witness Town Hall, Tribal Blessings, Sasquatch vendor merchandise, casting class, and tons of evidence. For info, tickets, and room packages, SasquatchSummit.com.
So there you go. Sasquatch Summit, November 18th and 19th in Ocean Shores, Washington. I don't know if I'm going to make it up there for that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. I'm kind of busy right now with a lot of things.
You're not busy.
I'm always busy, man. I got a 2-year-old. When am I not busy? But it sounds like something that a lot of people might be interested in, and I'd go check it out if I could, but I probably won't make it this time. But go check it out. When was it? November 18th?
Yeah, 18th and 19th. I'll put it up on the website under this
Sasquatch Summit.
Yeah, November
be
18th.
there, be
out,
dead.
Yeah, Ocean Shores. And again, I'll post a link for that It'd be kind of cool to meet some of the members up there at the conference.
Guys,
The only reason you wouldn't be there is if you're dead or in jail. And if you're in jail, break out.
It'd be really good. There's some people from that big project that they're always a pleasure to listen to. You know, we've heard them at Beachfoot, but I enjoy every presentation they ever give. So it'll be a good time.
Well, you ready for another encounter?
Hit it.
I want to welcome Chris to the show. Chris, thanks for coming on tonight, man. I appreciate you being here.
Hey, Wes. Nice to be here.
No, thank you for coming on. And if you would, where did this encounter take place? What state are we talking about?
Caring about New Jersey, the home of the Jersey Devil.
And if you would, just kind of start from the beginning. Tell us what you're out doing, and then walk us into the encounter if you would.
Yeah, sure. So I was out with my wife, and we were hiking up at Bass River State Park, which is kind of about 20 minutes north of Atlantic City. We finished up there. We went and had a nice dinner, and did a couple other things, and we're just kind of bouncing around enjoying a nice Sunday. And we ended up kind of goofing around at there's a town there where it's known for the home of the Jersey Devil, and we were back by this wildlife refuge that's run by the Department of Interior. And we were parked, and there's just nothing going on, and everybody knows the stories back there. I grew up in the area, and it was just really creepy, and we got a real weird vibe. But we were still just having a good time, and just kind of like, we didn't really think anything was, going to happen. But, we were, she was goofing around, making some noises, and she has a real high-pitched voice. She's a singer, and she let out like a squeal or something from like the back of us. That must have been kind of like keeping an eye on us or whatever, where my van was parked, just charged up from the back and came like right even to the side of the van where she was sitting in the passenger seat. It didn't like come right up to the van, but it was like far enough back where it had, I guess, its safe space and we had ours, but we could hear it running through like the marshy ground, and the ground is soft. It's like, it's not in the marsh, but it's the ground just above the marsh. So again, very soft, and I could just hear the bipedal footsteps, and it was super, super loud. And she heard it too, and it was just really, really just freaky. I mean, she started screaming, and she started saying, just go, just go. So we gassed up the van and I just took off. And yeah, that was pretty much the encounter there at that area. And at the time, I wasn't really sure what it was. I wasn't sure if it was the Jersey Devil, because I grew up in the area, and I had a couple friends of mine that had some sightings, they thought, of the Jersey Devil. But the person I knew that saw it, what he thought was the Jersey Devil, it wasn't a Sasquatch looking thing. He said it had, different characteristics. So
Yeah.
with wings and things.
And I want to come back to that. I want to ask you, though, on your first encounter, when you're there with your girlfriend, did you guys actually see what came up to the van?
She did. She saw the shape of it and everything. But I just looked over, and I couldn't. It was so dark out. It was around probably 11:30. It was so dark, and I was so freaked out because I could hear the footsteps, and it was just like, I mean, you hear something like that moving through the brush, and you're just like, oh my god, like what the hell is that? I have my van. It's like I have to turn off the alarm system in order to start the vehicle. So once I had the vehicle off, I was in the off position, lights off, everything was off in the car, in the van. So I had to first hit the unlock button to turn off the alarm before I could start the van, which is kind of like a pain in the butt. You got to take the key out to do it. So I was just so focused on that, getting that thing unlocked and then going again, and she was just screaming, and she's not really any help. But yeah, so she got a look at it. She said she saw the silhouette. It had to be over 8 foot tall, because I mean, if you go over there, it drops off from the road where it kind of goes road, and then there's reeds where the mark.
Hey guys, I really appreciate you being here tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night, guys.
And then it drops off into like an embankment, And on that embankment, it's like there's like trees and then there's grass. There's actually grass, like a really kind of like soft grass area, and you can move around back in there. And I sent you some pictures about like what that area looks like on your email. And like I go back there time to time. There's always, it seems to be always like dead bones. There's one time I went there was a skull facing like there's a like where the trailhead comes from where I parked in that little area. There was like a little trailhead. There was like a skull facing the trailhead. I thought that was kind of like an ominous warning, like kind of like stay the hell out.
I'm curious, when your girlfriend saw the figure, what was it about the figure that made her realize that's not a person besides the height? Was there anything she mentioned?
Well, I think we just the sheer just the sound of that thing, like stepping, like boom, boom. I mean, there's just nobody out there. I mean, this is a wildlife area that I'm sure nobody's had a gun on in 50 years. There's no humans out there with guns hunting. There's no people out there crabbing or fishing or anything. I mean, this is a creepy area where you walk in there for 10 minutes, you come out with 10 ticks and jiggers all up and down your legs. And I mean, nobody goes in there. It's you got a death wish if you want to go in there. There's no humans back there. And, yeah, for something like that to walk up on us and that kind of power and just wait, it was just, we had the windows down. It was just clear as day. And she looks over and she sees the silhouette, and it was really I mean, I didn't really, I believed in Bigfoot, but I never had an experience. I always wanted to have some kind of experience. I mean, not like, I didn't want to come face to face with one on a trail. I mean, that's happened to me with a bear, and the bear just kind of looks at you and walks away, just kind of trots off. But, with a Bigfoot, I really didn't want to come face to face with one,
Yeah, I don't blame you. What did your girlfriend think it was when she looked over? Did she think it was a Sasquatch, or did she?
Yeah, well, she's seen me watching the shows and stuff. Like, I'll flip on that Finding Bigfoot. I was watching a little of that at the time, and she's seen me watch a couple of the shows. I mean, she didn't really think much of it, but she just thought she loves me, so she just thought it was kind of like funny and like a kind of a funny show. And I thought the guys were kind of like a little bit goofy too, but I mean, it was some of the town halls and things I enjoyed watching because they had a show in New Jersey too. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, New Jersey, out here on the West Coast, I've said this a million times on the show, but I think a lot of people out here on the West Coast, you think of New Jersey and you think of like downtown New York. I think that's what a lot of us, or maybe it's just me, that's what you tend to think.
No, you're right about that. I used to live in San Francisco, and everybody told me, when I told them I lived in New Jersey, they said, "Oh, you live in the armpit of America." And I said, "You got to go there. I mean, it's not North Jersey, like right along, New York City area where all the, refineries are and, whatever power plants and stuff. I mean, this is like, the Pine Barrens are as desolate as it gets."
Yeah, there's a lot of woods out there. I mean, it's New Jersey is actually a very beautiful state in a lot of the areas. I wanted to ask you.
Oh yeah.
Why do you think it came up to the car? Do you think it was because your girlfriend made that noise, or do you think the creature was already there and it wanted to come in and check you guys out?
Well, I think that little area is like a spot where probably there's all kinds of food in that area. Number one, they have you have all the waterfowl. Maybe I notice when I go back there and look, there's all kinds. There's just clams and whatever he gets. I'm guessing it's the one that's leaving all these clamshells everywhere around there because something's. It could be raccoons, but I mean something's leaving shells. But then also there's bones of animals there all the time, so maybe something's going there to fish out the clams, and then they're getting taken. But also there's a restaurant near there, and I went over to the restaurant at night, and I noticed they leave a dumpster open. And also they leave out cat food for feral cats. So there's all this cat food laying out around there. So I was thinking like, well, if I was going to go for some easy food, I mean, I'd probably go over there, steal the cat's cat food. And if there wasn't any cat food out that day, maybe I'll grab a cat.
Well, I hear you there. I wanted to ask
or the dumpster. So I remember you had that kid on too from North Jersey. He was like saying how he you know, it was like, I think he was in Boy Scouts or something, and it was holding the half of the dog, you know, and it was like walking, you know, like kind of stalked him. So, I mean, I guess, like, I mean, you know, cats and dogs are fair game.
Yeah, I think that they are with regard to Sasquatch. I think they are fair game. How close do you think the creature got to your vehicle that night?
How close? Oh, I would say, let's see, 1, 2. I would say about, it was within about 4 yards.
Wow, so really close.
Yeah, because it's, I mean, literally where we park off there in that side little ditch area, it's you got this little side park area, and then right along where you park there's reeds, and the reeds come up, but the reeds only go in for like, you know, like 2 feet, and then there's like this, there's trees and there's grass, but the trees aren't thick there, and then behind that you have like there's marshland, and then there's other pockets of trees. It's a real weird area, and there's plenty of places to hide. And then you can just disappear out there. I mean, it's just you're just there, and then you're gone. And I was out there yesterday with my dad. It was low tide. I figured I'd go out there and just shoot a couple pictures for you, and show you kind of what the area is like. But I went in like 5 feet, and like he couldn't see me at all. He was like, I had no idea I was like, yeah, I was right here.
Yeah, so you've actually gone back to the area then and checked it out. Have you found anything besides?
Yeah, I grew up in the area, so I know the whole area real well.
So you know it well, yeah. Have you found anything besides strange kills in that area? I mean, have you looked for footprints or looked to see if there's?
Oh, right. Well, my brother was busting my chops after I told him, you know, about, you know, my wife and I's encounter, and she doesn't want to get involved in that. She doesn't want to go back or whatever. She was really freaked out, but my brother was like laughing and thought it was funny. So I said, dude, let's just go out there right now. We were with a bunch of friends, and, you know, I think we had like a couple of beers, and earlier in the day after we were playing some beach volleyball, and he's like, let's go out there. I want to go see what this is all about. I said, all right, let's go. So we went out, and we had like 3 people, and we went out back there, and this was the first time I saw footprints, the only time I saw footprints, but these footprints were, I mean, he measured, I measured it. You could put 2 of my feet, and I have 10.5. You can put 2 of my feet in the hole, in the mud back there. You know, it's tidal too. So high tide, the water comes up and covers the footprints. So I had it at just the right time. It was kind of just lucky. And then width-wise, you could put 2 feet sideways. So it was double width and double length. It was just, and he was just blown away. And ever since then, you know, he's been watching your show and checking things out. And he'll send me little links to things. You know, he's like kind of I would say he's definitely just not a believer. He's definitely very interested.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting that you actually went back to that place to check it out. I mean, I don't blame you for going back. And I know you grew up in the area. And it's, you know, with these things, one thing I always tell people, please be careful when you're in those areas, because some people might look at your encounter with your girlfriend or your wife and go, well, you know, it was just curious, but that shows a lack of fear for it to come